That's funny though.
Welcome back, everybody, to Tag Team, the Pokemon TCG's premier podcasting duo. I'm JW Kriewall, two-time regional champion, and with me, one-time regional champion, Riley Hulbert. Riley, how you doing today? Third time's a charm, I'd say.
Third time is a charm, although I'd say that's a really bad manners way to introduce me after the help I gave you.
You're right. Absolute legend, goated human being, Riley.
For sure. So, for the third time, how are things going today? And for reference, because many of you will not get the context, we had a lot of difficulty recording this episode.
Well, for further context, I found out at about 9:05 that I would be hosting Tag Team tonight. I forgot. We talked about it last week, but it's like I don't write that stuff in my calendar. Come on, are you kidding me? You think I got time for that? So
I also
anyway,
messaged you at 8.
Well, but I didn't see it until 9:10. I was a little busy. So I just had some issues, and it wasn't even. I would argue that it would have been very hard to find. Like it was a pretty obtuse solution. I feel like.
It was a little obtuse, but I did find it.
You did, yeah. Well, there you go. That's your analytical brain coming out. So that's very, very good. But yes, anyway, Riley is in Ohio right now, so not at the usual setup. So Riley, how are things with the fam?
They're great, yeah. So I'm visiting my family for the week here, working remotely from Ohio, and it's been great. It's been really good connecting with everybody, and I haven't seen my family since Christmas of the year before, so it's been a long time, and it's just really pleasant to see everybody. The dogs are all cute and fun. I miss my cats, but I have a great friend watching them back in Madison, so
great.
It's been good. It's been good for the soul,
Yeah, good, like chicken soup.
Like chicken soup for the soul. How about you? What's been going on? You got the house stuff going on. You got your new job. So much crazy stuff.
I know, it's a whirlwind of things, and yeah, I mean, it's just it's like one new stressor after the next, but it's like good stress, I think, for the most part. But yeah, I just feel like I need more hours in my day to do everything I want, because I also want to like chill out. I also want to like play my
I feel that
my video games, sure. But I just feel like I need a few hours every day to do that, but I just don't have that time if I want to like do YouTube stuff, or if I want to hang out with my wife, or I just
trust me, I get you, man.
There's kind of those, you do the 9 to 5, and then I'm waking up. What I'm doing too now is like I'm waking up at 7, so I can start at like 7:30, so I can be done at 3:30, so I can try to record a video at 3:30, 3:30 to 5, record and edit, and then I got 5, make dinner, 6, and then sometimes we'll have an evening thing, and then yeah. So anyway, it just gets out of control real quick. So
no, I feel you. Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of in a similar boat, although I can't start and end work earlier just by virtue of how my job works. But
yeah,
you finish up work and you work out and you make dinner, and now the day's gone. So
yep. We need shorter work days.
We do. We do. Absolutely. I don't think anyone would argue, but yeah. Such is life, I suppose.
Such is the capitalist machine.
Such is the
that we've been born into.
We're just cogs in it.
That's right.
So, how have things been going, Mr. JW, in your Players Cup 4 run?
Yeah, Players Cup 4 has been a pretty interesting time. I would say that I've played well, but I just have had, it's been a much worse experience than Players Cup 3. So Players Cup 3, I was really proud. I said this on the cast before, so you can tune the next like 10 seconds out. But I was really proud that I had more, I only had a handful of times where I was knocked out in the first round. I never really had any streaks where I would lose in the first round. I think I maybe had 5 or 7, top 8 losses, right? So I was generally making it out of that first round and getting points pretty much every single tournament. That has not been the case with Players Cup 4. Players Cup 3, I did manage to snag one of the top. I was in the top I want to say I was 13th overall.
It
I was
was
in the
like
top.
13 or 14. Yeah.
Yeah, something like that. So I managed to, be one of those top finishers in Players Cup 3 and just very consistent all the way through. But here I'm scraping for my life. I got 69 points.
Nice.
And I know, there you go. And I have played 37 keys so far. So I think I have, roughly 13 keys left and 30 points to. No, that's not correct. That can't be right. That's far. I have like 17 keys left. Something like that. Yeah.
Less
Anyway,
than 20, but more than 10.
less than 20, more than 10. And so I'm right on that threshold. Like if I can just do, two per key, 2 points per key, then I'm gonna be just fine. Otherwise, we're kind of struggling. So we're on that precipice, right? It could get really hairy really quick, or I could just go on a heater and win, like 2 or 3 in the next 5 keys and like kind of, cruise into the finish line. So we'll see how it goes. But so far, I'm at least putting myself in a position to make it onto the next stage.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So with the rest of those keys, what are you thinking? What's the deck of choice?
I have been really interested in moving back to Pikarom, and I've been seeing a few content creators also playing Pikarom in Players Cup, notably Mellow Magikarp and Azul. And so that's been like, yeah, I should play Pikarom. And then I see the, recent tournament results, and I'm seeing not only like a lot of Eternatus, which is a pretty bad matchup, but a lot of Urshifu as well, which is also
Right.
a pretty bad matchup. And I've noticed recently, because I've been playing Eternatus pretty much throughout my entire run, I've been noticing that there has been an uptick in Urshifu variants, and I've even played a couple of single strike Urshifu. Man, like there's just a lot of fighting out there from my vantage point, and so it's kind of scared me off of Eternatus a little. Obviously, Pikarom has ways around fighting in the form of Mewtwo, but sometimes the fighting decks play Mimikyu or other things to kind of neutralize that threat of Mewtwo. So I don't quite know yet what I'm going to do with my last keys. I might go rogue. I might do, like a Victini or something, or I might just stick with the
I
Eternatus.
might
I'm
go
not.
rogue, play a Victini deck.
Well, I don't know. I mean, Victini's not in like the top 5 most played decks, so I feel like it's not particularly, like teched for, I guess. So
Right.
yeah, that's where I'm at. Riley, how about yourself?
So I admittedly have not used my keys yet, which is kind of a shame. We talked about this last week, how I hadn't gotten started. And really, the rest of that week was kind of tumultuous for me between work and preparing to come here and then actively coming here to Ohio and then being here. So it's going to be a very stressful weekend for me as I try to reclaim all 50 of those in like 5 days. So for the unaware, the Players Cup 4 qualifiers are ending next week on Wednesday, the 26th. So get your keys in before then. So what that means for me is probably a lot of gameplay on Sunday and Monday is my guess.
Yeah, I really don't know how you're gonna do it. Like I would feel much more confident in you if you said like, oh yeah, I have 10, 15
That's
keys
fine.
down. But
It's
doing
fine.
all 50 is gonna be such a grind mentally.
The thing is, it's just I'm really bad about like I kind of just leave my work computer into my like office space, my computer space throughout the week, except
Yeah.
when we do tag team. And I don't have any like games installed on my computer for work. So it kind of like dissuades me from playing Pokemon during the week, unless I'm really motivated to do so because I have to like switch out my computers and all this crazy stuff. So I just have to bring myself to do that like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday of the week, and then I should be fine.
Gotcha.
Because it's really just the act of like going through the motions of switching out my computer and starting up TCGO. Because then I can whittle it down to be more like 13 keys a day, which is totally reasonable.
Sure.
it's if I was like just in the weekend and I had to do 25 keys a day, that'd be a lot.
I mean, some people like. There was one I remember. One person did, I don't know, 50 keys in pretty much 24 hours.
Yeah, it was like the day after the Players Cup started.
That's so absurd to me. Like I don't know, man.
Yeah, I
That's
don't think I
wild.
could do that. I did play a lot of my keys in Players Cup 2 very quickly.
Hmm.
So it's just a matter of finding the groove.
Hmm.
Which part of that for me is just finding like the deck that I really enjoy. I'm definitely, tried and true Pikarom Stan in this past couple formats. So that's another deck that I'm eyeing up as well,
Yep.
similar to you. Um, I really do like Rapid Strike, and
Yep.
I think that the meta is shaping up decently for it. I kind of
Yep.
enjoy the Rapid Strike mirrors as well, so I wouldn't mind playing that. Um,
Yeah, I agree with you. I've been thinking more and more about Rapid Strike recently because it seems like it's poised very well, right? You have at the top,
mhm.
you have Eternatus, you got Pikarom, and you got ADP, which are all really solid matchups for you. Favorable, I would say, in all three cases. The only kind of thorn in your side is going to be the Luke Metal matchup, but that one is even potentially winnable depending on if you play Phoebe or not, and depending on how fast of a start you can get. Because if they start something that's not Zamazenta, they can't get their second Zamazenta done, you can definitely go through one of them. And then,
Yeah.
it just kind of depends on how well they play and what access to the deck that they have. And so that one's definitely a winnable matchup. What I've been thinking about is whether or not I would want to play Rapid Strike with Jirachi or with Cinccino. Now, I have a video coming out tomorrow, I guess today if you're listening to the cast on Thursday, but I'm playing Rapid Strike Cinccino, and it's a list that Pedro is doing pretty well with and grinding his keys with, and so I wanted to give it a shot, kind of see. I haven't played that variant that much. I was mostly focused on in the early part of the format the Octillery version, which has completely fallen off, and
Mhm.
then I had been playing some Jirachi based builds just to get more comfortable with Rapid Strike. But trying out the Cinccino gives you a few more options at the expense of kind of that early game consistency. Um, Pedro's list only plays one Dedenne, one Snorlax, and then a 3/3 Cinccino line. So it's just very much, you have the options in the late game, right? Because you have the Cheryls, you have the reset stamps, but it's just getting out of that early game to
Yeah. Oh, no doubt.
to have the potential to play in the late game.
Yeah, and I think it really comes down to like what kind of style you think is a better way to play the deck. For the decks that you expect, I would say
Right.
that the Cinccino version has a lot of potential in the mirror as long as you can get your Muse down, to be able to get those Cheryls, which are so impactful. Um, and then you have Jirachi, which is like that aggression is so good against things like Eternatus. It's so good against things like Pikarom, where you just want to blow them out of the water as quickly as you can.
Right. Right. Exactly. So, if you were to consider Rapid Strike, Riley, would you have a preference, or would there be anything that you would include in your deck list for this specific metagame?
I think if it was me, I would probably play something pretty similar to what is used in Players Cup 3 finals, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
With the uptick in Pikarom, I like having the Mimikyu and the Jirachi as options. Um, I think that's just super strong in those kinds of matchups. Um, and I like the Jirachi variant because that's the one I've practiced more with.
Yeah.
So I'd feel more comfortable with burning a key on it. Whereas I feel like with the Cinccino version, you have a very branched out game path where there's a lot of decisions that you're making with every single make do, every single Pokemon that you grab with a capture energy, every single time you Snorlax. Um, and there's a lot more nuance to like your individual turns. Not to say the deck is just like the most impossible, insane deck to play ever, but there is a lot of nuance to how you would play it.
Yeah.
And I'm not confident without like a decent amount of practice that I'd be able to do that to the level like
You
where there
know that
would
you're
be
not
mistakes that
misplaying.
I didn't know
Right.
happened almost,
Right.
and that's like one thing that I really hate is like the idea of me making a mistake and like not being able to know what it was. So,
Yes. Yes. There are definitely those times where you kind of that you did something wrong, but you don't know quite the optimal way to play it. I've definitely been there.
Yeah. So, I mean, if I had to honestly rate myself as a Pokemon player, I think my decision making would be a higher score with the Jirachi version than with the Chinchino version.
Oh yeah, there you go. There you go. At least you're being honest. I'm glad you're being honest with your ranking.
Well, I try.
And a very humble take on that. Yes, very good. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm still a fan though of Rapid Strike conceptually. It's a strong, consistent archetype.
Yeah. Yeah, and
I'm
it's
still a fan of Pikarom, strong, consistent archetype.
Right. And that, I think, I have, again, about 15 keys left to go. I've been enjoying Eternatus for the most part. I thought that the early metagame was a lot better for it, and I'm definitely kind of seeing that lately. I've been just kind of getting pushed around by the fighting types, and like things like Orbeetle and stuff. There seems to be a little bit more hate for Eternatus out there. So I think I'm going to move back to something a little bit more Dedenne focused, be it Pikarom or Rapid Strike or something else, maybe a Fire Welder box. I don't know.
I was thinking about playing some Welder decks as well, which is like almost sinful coming from my mouth.
I know, right?
But sometimes you just want to crank it up and play Welder.
just shove all your chips to the middle of the table and go, I'm playing Welder.
Exactly. And I kind of have that feeling right now. But either way, I plan to have fun with it. I'll play decks that I think are strong, but my goal is to just kind of like enjoy myself and get some points along the way.
There you go. That's all anyone can ask. Well, I can't wait to talk to you in a week.
When I'm like completely fatigued on Pokemon. I'm just like sick of it.
Yeah. Hey, are you gonna be in Ohio again next week?
Next week, no. I'm still trying to figure out what's going on for like the week following.
Yeah, right. That's what I'm like the 29th, 30th.
Yeah, I'm still figuring out the plan for that.
Well, like the plan is in it's happening, or the plan is in
if it's happening.
Okay, if it's happening. All right. Yeah, well, that'd be great. It'd be great to have you.
So, any other, I guess, guiding points of wisdom, JW? I mean, I will say we talk a lot on the podcast about not rage starting tournaments, and you did relay some information to me about your tournament experience.
I did, yes. I did do a little bit of rage starting tournaments. Most recently, I'm on a cold streak right now. I'm 0 for 4 in my most recent tournaments. It was pretty good. I had 69 points and I was over 20 keys. So I was like, I'm chilling, dude. Like, I'm chilling. I'm on a good pace. I was like projected, with my little calculator, I was like on pace for like 120 points or something, like, pretty much cruising at that point. And then I lose 4 in a row and I'm like, reel it back in. And it was on my lunch break. I was like, okay, I'll play one, see how things go. Lose, play another one, lose. And then at this point, I'm like, well, I can't go back into the second half of the day, not getting a single point at lunch. And, start another one, single strike Urshifu, lose, start another one. It was like, I don't know, something ridiculous, like Inteleon or something. And I dead draw it. I'm like, what the heck? So yes, you're right. We do talk a lot about don't rage start tournaments, just be in the right mindset and be able to play optimally. And not that I made any misplays necessarily, but I was definitely just, kind of out of my head, especially for like the last one. I don't necessarily think it made a difference, but yeah, it could have, I suppose. So be careful.
Be careful. Well, the message stays true. Don't rage start your tournaments. Keep a level head. Play to the best of your ability, and the fruits of your labor will come. And if they don't, that's okay too. You don't have to qualify for every single Players' Cup to be a good player or to continue to improve.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, you don't have to. Yeah, exactly. Well said. I mean, it's kind of a crapshoot at the end of the day. If you're listening out there and you're like, hey, I didn't make it. You're sitting at the end of your keys and like, hey, I got 40 points or I got 60 points. Like, it's cool. People have bad tournaments. People have great tournaments. That they kind of fall into you. Sometimes you just kind of fall into your result. If you know that you played well, if you know that you did the things that we talk about, checking your prizes, if you know you sequenced well, if you know that you picked an adequate deck, like sometimes there's just nothing you can do.
Well said. Well said. So I think it's about time that we do a card of the day.
I think so.
Okay. So card of the day this week is I got down like a weird rabbit hole when trying to pick a card of the day for this week. Where I started off looking at Rayquaza cards, kind of referencing the new set, and then I got down this like high energy, like discard energy attacker rabbit hole, and I had gotten into like all sorts of like lowercase exs because a lot of them did that sort of thing. And then I found the card that spoke to me the most, and that is a card from Holland Phantoms, and it is Holland's Cast Form. So Holland's Cast Form is a fascinating card. It is one of the craziest like support Pokemon cards ever.
Yes.
So it's a 50
Truly.
HP basic, and it has one attack which does not do damage, and obviously it's a cast form, so it doesn't evolve. So you look at this card and you're like, what is the point of this thing? Like, what does it do? But then there's like a little, there's like a big paragraph, so it's written in like itty bitty text.
You got to
underneath
squint. It's
at the
definitely
bottom of the card.
for the young eyes out there.
Yeah, I need to put on my readers for this one. And it says basically, just boiling it down, if one of your Pokemon has an energy card attached to it, you can swap that energy with Holland's Cast Form as your energy attachment for turn. And Holland Cast Form provides 2 rainbow energy.
Yeah.
So the cool thing about Cast Form is obviously it's like a double rainbow, so it like offers a lot of flexibility in your deck, but it's a Pokemon especially. So, obviously like even for Pokemon that have like 2 of the same energy type attachments, like Cast Form is still useful in this time because it's a Pokemon that you can search.
Right.
So cards like Holland's Mentor, you can just grab Cast Form out of it. There's a lot of Holland support that you can get Cast Form with, or any just Pokemon search card. And that lets you get Cast Form out of the deck. Communication is another example. So that's just like, it's so cool that you have this like energy that you can search on a ball card that isn't like a net ball, or it's a grass energy. It's like a flexible energy that you can get on a ball card.
Right.
So it's just super cool. It's like an unintuitive card when you first look at it, just because that text is, it's the reader's text.
Yeah.
So when I was new, I looked at this card and like, this thing is garbage. You can't even do a damage with it.
Well, talk about the attack as well.
Yeah, so Delta Draw is actually a decent attack too. So Delta Draw, you count the number of Pokemon in play that has Delta species on it. So Castformer is not a Delta species, just FYI, and you drop to that many cards. So obviously, like Delta species were all the rage at the time, and most decks that use Delta species would like primarily have a fair amount of them. So it's like a good way to draw in a pinch if you start Castform as well. So honestly,
and,
it looks like a.
And back then, drawing 2 or 3 was like pretty
yeah.
good. Like you might spend multiple turns.
Slimmer back then. Like you didn't have your researches or your Sycamores back then. You didn't even have like your Cynthias back then. It was just like you draw a couple cards at a time, usually with some sort of stipulation. So Castform is just a great card, and it's cool. I'll always say this time and time again, it's cool that these like niche Pokemon that are kind of useless in the video game, like Castform, get these times to shine in the trading card game. And even if it's not like, Castform isn't making waves with his insane attacks, but he's helping out the team in however he can, which is great.
That's right. And they also had, I do just want to mention while we're on the topic, they also had a few other cards that did somewhat similar things. Not as good in kind of the Voltorb and Electrode, but those 2 cards being able to provide, I think the Magnemite. I think Magnemite provided a colorless. Voltorb Electrode provided, I thought, some like a rainbow style effect, something like that, or maybe it was just the Electrode. But in any case, this was kind of a common theme, and all of them actually had some relative uses. Like the Voltorb and the Magnemite were pretty interchangeable. But the Magneton and the Voltorb like had different uses depending on the deck. So yeah, very cool stuff. A really unique kind of combination of cards that we really haven't seen since, I would say. And something that, would really add another level of complexity to the game should they decide to bring that kind of mechanic back.
Yeah, it was an awesome mechanic. I definitely recommend checking out decks from that time frame of like the Delta species and the lowercase EXs. There's a lot of cool stuff that went on in the game around then.
Yeah.
Cool. So that brings us into our final poster headliner topic for the day. And that is the new set that was announced. So as has been tradition for the last couple of generations, we finally are getting our Rayquaza set. JW, tell me how excited you are for the Rayquaza set.
I do love a good Rayquaza, but that was never a deck that I really played into the ground when it was around. And I know you have some experience with Rayquaza.
It depends on the Rayquaza that you're referring to, I suppose. Because there's always a Rayquaza deck, I feel like.
True.
So
I'm thinking about the Mega Rayquaza.
So Mega Rayquaza, I didn't play too much Mega Rayquaza. I don't know where you're getting that idea from.
Really? Okay, I was thinking, the whole Columbus crew, like you and.
No, I never. Only Reno really played Mega Rayquaza. I was a Decidueye guy. But I did play a decent amount of Vika from Celestial Storm shortly after rotation. What was that, 2018 now? Geez, the years are blending together.
Mm-hmm.
But Vika was a lot of fun, accelerating the energy and just blasting for insane amounts of damage. Honestly, like Rayquaza is usually something to that effect, where you get when you get a bunch of energy in play, rather, and you do a lot of damage. You see that with like the Dragon Mega Ray. You see that with the Dragon Burst Rayquaza. You see that with Celestial Storm Rayquaza EX. They all just love to do a lot of damage for a lot of energy in play. Right. So the Lipstick Dragon is coming back in Evolving Skies. Kind of feels like a harken back to Roaring Skies, and with the name there and the color scheme.
Yeah, absolutely. There's no doubt in my mind that they were going for that when they created this set.
Are there any Pokemon, JW, that you are kind of like wish listing for this set, given that it's like a Skies themed set?
Yeah, I mean, they got to make a Dragonite, right?
I suppose so. Yeah, they usually pair a Dragonite with a Rayquaza.
Yeah, I was gonna say Dragonite was pretty big with Rayquaza, back in Roaring Skies. So obviously it came out in two different sets, but I would like to see that. That'd be kind of cool.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense given your history of Dragonite. I would love to see a normal bird Pokemon kind of get a chance to shine. Like imagine like a Fearow V Max.
Yo.
But it's good.
Let's go.
That would just be so hype. That would never happen, but maybe Pidgeot could get a cool one. Like Fearow, Fearow kind of gets the short end of the stick, but maybe Pidgeot could get a cool one, or Dodrio would be cool.
Oh, that would be pretty sweet.
Maybe like a Dodrio V or something that like reduces retreat, all sorts of cool things that we can do. Maybe even just a Dodrio V Max that like makes your Pokemon free retreat or something. I don't know.
Does Dodrio have a V Max in the lore in the game?
Well, the V Max isn't necessarily directly related to having like a Gigantamax.
Oh, okay.
There's actually instances where cards have a Gigantamax and a regular just V Max version, which is just bigger.
Okay. I actually have acquired a copy of Pokemon Sword, so I might be playing it in the next, I don't know, few months.
We'll see.
But okay, well that's great. Yeah, that would be really cool to get one of those birds to be kind of a poster child for Roaring. It would be kind of a tough sell, I feel like, for Evolving Skies to have, a land-based bird and Dodrio be your kind of most feared Pokemon.
Dodrio can fly.
Well, it knows how to fly, but like it's clearly based off an ostrich.
but it
which
can fly.
which doesn't know how to. Well, I think they messed that one up a little bit.
You can see it flying in Pokemon Snap.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, I haven't gotten that far yet.
So I it doesn't have to be Dodrio, but I would like to see just like one of those more standard birds get a powerful 2 prize card. Is that so much to ask?
I don't think it is. I don't think it is.
Yeah. So that's on my wish list.
That's
Anything
great.
else that you're excited about coming up in the next set here? I don't think they've really said much about it.
No, I mean it's just always new sets are pretty cool. You're excited to see like kind of what secret rare cards are. I'm getting more and more excited about the arts in the sets, all the alternate arts thus
They're
far.
so good.
Yeah, from pretty much, Sword and Shield on, all the alternate arts have been really, really strong. So I'm excited for those. I know it's gonna, you know, it's sad that I'm actually into the alternate arts right now because like it's just gonna cost way more money because everyone else is also into the alternate arts right now. So, we'll see. We'll see though. I'm excited to see what they do with the art.
We will see. Awesome. So with that, let's get to some chat questions here. Got one from Bortmilk25. Do you think it is important for weakness to be double? Do you think it may be too much of an auto loss for tight matchups? I definitely have some opinions on this. JW, what are your thoughts?
I think ×2 weakness isn't horrible for the game. I think that um, it's because you have to do something with the amount of HP that these Pokemon have. Like you have to have some kind of mechanic to be able to have it so that one deck just doesn't dominate an entire metagame or entire format. Like they have to have some kind of counter. The problem I think comes when like post rotation, if we're looking at it, is just that we might fall into this rock paper scissors lizard Spock type format where there's just like literally not a way for one deck to beat the other without it being weak or without it having weakness on another deck, which is frustrating. There's not a lot of type coverage within each of the archetypes, right? Riley is probably going to say this, but it's like, you could play red VMAX or blue VMAX or yellow VMAX, and there's no real interplay. Like right now we have, Mewtwo's going in Urshifu decks, or we have, it's really kind of just Mewtwo kind of just getting splashed around as the most viable kind of secondary attacker. But you understand you kind of understand my point though, is just like there is a little bit of viability in having like a dual type deck. Like Pikarom at this point, frankly, it's more of a psychic deck than an electric deck. Like really, if you think about it, like the amount of times that I'm attacking with Mewtwo, it far outweighs the amount of times I'm attacking with Pikarom, which is just kind of funny to say. But yeah, right now we have a little bit of a diversity, a very small amount. But I think that probably goes away with the rotation, and I think we'll just have to see how things buff out from there.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I'm a little on the fence about this. I think 2 times can be really oppressive at times, but I think Pokemon generally tries to balance around it. I mean, like a good example is like the Zapdos, the Galarian Zapdos V is like clearly intended to hit for 2 times weakness and KO it turns V max. But if weakness was like plus 30 and they still wanted to get that same goal, it would have to do 300 damage, which would be ridiculous. Right. So it lets you have a card that's like moderately powerful outside of that matchup, but like actually helps where it counts.
Right.
And I think it kind of harkens back to JW's point. Like he's Pokemon with so much HP. Like at what point, like how much weakness would you need to add to make it meaningful? It would have to be like almost 100. It feels like, but then you're looking at like Pokemon like a Zigzagoon doing like 100 damage to a Dragapult, which doesn't seem right either. So I think what I would like to see is more of like a gradation of the weaknesses. Like maybe you have like basics are plus 10. Like 1 prize basics are plus 10, stage 1s are like plus 20 and then plus 30, or numbers can be fudged, but like some sort of like gradation on the stages, and then like the multi-prize Pokemon have that 2 times or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah.
I think there's ways that we could make it better,
Mhm.
but I feel like the game is there's too much health in play for the multi-prize Pokemon and not have a multiplier.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. For sure. And I mean, I kind of feel like I probably will eat my words in a few, like in a year or two, but I kind of feel like we're riding this kind of peak. I don't know if you feel that way in terms of health and HP and like the amount that times 2 weakness matters, but
I'll never say never on health,
I
man.
know, never say never, but like the VMAX is like in the video game, like these are like supposed to be just massive creatures, right? So then you port them over to the card game, like they're not going to have less HP than, you know, the strongest Pokemon. So I kind of feel like we're at kind of a high point. This actually gets into the next question here. You've mentioned that we're in a stage 1 meta at the moment. Do you think that the only way we could get back to a stage 2 meta is if they made all basics in stage 1s useless compared to stage 2s? I really don't think that way. There are certain things about the way that they're designing the game that make me think that we're going to see like we're in a stage 1 meta. We have been in a stage 2 meta in the past. We have been in a basic dominated meta game, which you could, I mean, I guess argue that we're in one right now, but the point being that they generally tend to cycle through the Pokemon that they give strength, or the Pokemon types that they give strength. So just I've played for long enough to know that. And so for the people that are like, oh, the game is terrible, it's only basics, or it's only stage 1s right now, like just give it some time. I have a belief in the game designers that they will try to rebalance at some point. And in terms of how do you make stage 2s good again, it probably just has to do something with like certain abilities being printed, like Zamazenta's ability is being printed on Glaceon VMAX. You have to give stage 2s maybe more viable attacks, but they have to be kind of different in a way. I don't know quite what that means, but it's like, does 400 more damage if the Pokemon is a VMAX? That's obviously an exaggeration, but something like that where it's like, oh, it
Right.
scales against.
I mean, I think the fundamental point you're getting at is that stage 2s have to be the juice has to be worth the squeeze on
Yeah.
stage 2.
Yeah.
Like you're putting a lot of effort into getting them out. And stage 2s, in my opinion, need like 2 major things to be successful. They need like a key attribute that helps them either circumvent game mechanics or like deal absurd amount of damage or like somehow compete against like easier to get out Pokemon like stage 1s and basics.
Yep.
And they need a method to get them out easily, consistently. Not necessarily like so easily that you consistently get like 3 stage 2s out on turn 2, but consistently enough that you can count on having multiple throughout the game, every game.
Right.
And so it's a push and pull on both of those things that actually makes stage 2s viable. And right now, we're missing both of those categories, I would say. Like the stage 2s aren't powerful enough, nor are they easy enough to get out. So we need a little more support. And I think right now, I've said this before, I think Pokemon overestimates how easy it is to get a stage 2 out. And so they make stage 2s with like a certain power level that isn't conducive of how difficult they are. And I think they're learning from that as the stage is getting more powerful, but we're not all the way there yet.
Right. Would agree.
Alaskan Hero asks, do you think we may see Pokemon card power levels decreasing more, considering there are fewer straightforward OHKO attacks? So like conditional attacks instead of just being gigantic one-shots.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully. Yeah, that's the hope, right? Obviously, you want to have more more options, right? You might have to think a little bit more about what you're doing. So it doesn't seem to be quite the case right now, but again, just think about the cycles. Like I think we'll start seeing a little bit more text come back to some of these attacks soon.
And I would also say, like, at least the VMAXs don't just like one-shot each other back and forth. Like there's usually at least one turn between hitting a VMAX for the first time and OHKO or like KOing it.
Yeah.
So
and I would say, I mean, if you want kind of what I would consider like a good VMAX or certainly a step in the right direction, like the Rapid Strike Urshifu. Like great, I think generally great design. In terms of the context that it's in, right? If you put it in another context, put it back 10 years ago, like it's completely overpowered. But in this context, you have two attacks that do very different things, and yeah, I think it's generally good.
Well, I think if there's one theme coming out of these questions, it's that JW and I have high hopes for the future of the game, and we're really excited to see where things go.
Always. And we're excited to bring you the cutting edge in news every single week.
Every single week, even if we're at our parents' house. So with that, we will sign off for the day. We appreciate all of your listenership, whether you're watching live or listening from your iPod Touch or even from your iPod Nano. We appreciate all of the listenership. Be sure to rate and review if you're checking us out on your favorite podcasting platforms. It really helps boost us up through those magical algorithms. And be sure to also check us out on social media. That's Smiles at Riles and Real John Walter on Twitter, and Munner and Flex Daddy Righteous on Twitch. You can also see the podcast Twitter on Tag Team Pokemon on Twitter, and that's where we'll do all sorts of great giveaways.
That's right. Well, it's getting about time, isn't it, Riley?
It's getting about time, so make sure you get those follows in.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you guys so much for listening. We'll catch you on the next week's podcast.
Thanks, everybody. Peace.
See ya.